All right, welcome, welcome. We've got a special guest speaker here, guys. We got Everett Burns. Everyone say what's up, Everett.
What's up, Everett?
All right, Everett's one of my good friends in the business. We branched together. He kicked my butt the first branch summer. I kicked his butt the second branch summer. And just so you guys know, a little bio about Everett here. Everett is at $2.2 million in Cutco sales. He's personally sold over $250,000 worth of Cutco. He had his biggest personal sales semester around classes. He sold $56,000. He's a 16-time company trip winner, 16 trips. He's been to Paris, Maui, Ireland. He's a top student trainer. He's coached 9 All-American scholarship winners. His current role, he lives in Philadelphia. He's a program development coordinator. He supports the Leadership Academy, assistant manager training, and other management training programs. And I'm going to go ahead and have Everett talk to you guys today about advanced recommendations. So, Everett, go ahead and take it away.
Awesome. Thanks, Jacob. It's a pleasure to be here and speak to all of you. I remember my first summer of being a Vector sales rep like it was yesterday, and that was almost 9 years ago now. But I'll be totally honest with all of you. Every single Vector meeting I've ever been to has had a message about kicking butt with recommendations. And every time I heard one of those messages, there were things that I heard that I already learned before, and there were things that I had never learned before. So don't be the I've heard this before person, because you will hear a couple tips here that you have heard before. But listen for what you haven't. And before we dive into the meat of this message, I want to remind you that everything I teach you is going to matter a lot more once you have your recommendations approach memorized. So make sure you really get after memorizing your recommendations approach as quickly as possible. We're going to spend this message going through 3 concepts on advancing your recommendation skills. And I'm going to go pretty fast because I've got less than 15 minutes already, and this is a 25-minute message. So if you miss something, this is recorded. And we're going to get this done in 12 minutes, whether you get every note or not. So we're going to talk about networking into $1 million homes, qualifying your leads, and collecting more names on average. And we're going to start by talking about increasing your rec average. A strong network is not knowing a lot of people, rather it's many people knowing you. So if you have a lot of acquaintances that you barely know, doing a great presentation for them and making them a stronger connection is one of the best ways to go from acquaintance to part of your network. So there are many people who you can get future opportunities, make future connections with, and more that are in your network right now. And it's not just Cutco connections, but Cutco is a great excuse to make initial connections with people in the first place. So you can choose between keeping your current network or growing it. Turning acquaintances into your network is simply a choice that you make. So my first tip for everybody is recommend yourself to more people. Recommend yourself to more people. There's always more people that you can recommend yourself to. And the more people of your own that you recommend yourself to, the more confident you'll be that your customers can recommend you to 10, 20, 30, 50 recommendations. But the reality is, if you do presentations for 10 people you know, and then you ask people, and then you ask customers for 20 recommendations, there's a disconnect for you between what you're willing to give yourself versus what you're asking for from others. So, next thing for recommendations here, everybody, is handle objections confidently. Handle objections confidently. There's really 3 key hints. I'm not going to go through the nuts and bolts. You have the words on your script, so just read it word for word. But the key is to get them started. Once people get started on recommendations, they're going to give you a lot more, and be a huge cheerleader for them along the way. Root for them every step of the way. Every recommendation is super, super worth it for you. So that's my little bit on averaging more. But the most important thing you can do to average more recommendations is simply memorize your approach. And if you're using the app is part of your approach. So can you be as confident explaining the app as you are in explaining your approach in its entirety? Second thing is qualifying your leads. So qualifying your leads is the hidden secret of this business. Qualifying your leads, everybody, the first thing to know, everything I'm going to say, only say it after they've already given you their leads. So you want to ask yourself before we jump into this, are you asking for recommendations because you were told by your manager to ask for recommendations? Or are you using recommendations as an opportunity to network into the areas that you want to be showing customers Cutco? So, a couple helpful tips and hints for qualifying your leads. A line that I always love to use is, Mrs. Jones, like I said, it helps me out just to show Cutco, but if people buy more, it helps me more. I'll say that again. Mrs. Jones, like I said, it helps me out just to show Cutco, but if people buy more, it helps me more. What this does is it sets you up with an opportunity to ask Mrs. Jones questions that qualify her recommendations. So you could ask questions like, Mrs. Jones, who on here do you think would buy a set? Are they married? What's their spouse's name? Who's around during the day or works from home so you can get more daytime appointments? Do you know what the best school in your area is? The best private school, the best prep school? Ask people, who do you know that sends their kids to X, Y, and Z school? For me, when I was in New York and I learned all the good schools, one of them was Chaminade, which costs about $38,000 a year. I want to show Cutco to every single kid's parent who goes to Chaminade because they're sending their kids there for $38,000 a year. Right. And so I asked every single customer that I met with on Long Island, who do you know that sends their kids to Chaminade? Who do you know that sends their kids to Chaminade? Who do you know that sends their kids to Chaminade? Eventually I broke into that network, and that was the campaign that I sold $55,000 or 56 around my classes, because I was finally in the best networks with the best customers who could get whatever Cutco they wanted. So if I asked you who are the best recommendations you have right now, and you say it's this list, I don't believe that you're qualifying your leads. Your best leads are going to be a couple on each list that you have. So think about how much easier your phone time is going to be knowing who you're calling, knowing more about them, and knowing that these are the best people to call. Qualifying also means that you're getting more out of the appointments you're doing because you can sell more on the same number of appointments you're already doing. Now, the biggest part of my message here is going to be on networking. Networking is the best opportunity you have as a Cutco sales rep, and I don't think people realize how incredible the opportunity is. Half of you are going to do some of the things I say, half of you are not. All I'm going to say is, for those of you who choose to, you will reap huge rewards by doing so. So you've probably heard the phrase before, your network determines your net worth. Utilize your opportunity selling Cutco to network into the best areas, to see the highest quality clients, and networking with people who will add value to your life, both inside and outside of Cutco. Cutco is an opportunity to sell yourself to every single person you meet with, and intentional networking is a huge key to your success here, and it can create what you want for yourself after Vector if you do it the right way. When I started in this position, I was doing appointments in solid areas, but not the best towns that I knew I could be in. Once I realized that I could network into whatever towns I wanted to be in, that's when it really started to go big for me. And now that we have this awesome virtual element of the business, when I started, we didn't really have the virtual demo in the capacity that we do today. It's easier than ever to do demos in whatever part of the country or whatever part of your area you want to, because you don't even have to physically travel to those locations. So let's talk about a couple keys to networking. First tip is the biggest tip. Be someone who's worth recommending to your customers' best connections. Be someone who is worth recommending to your customers' best connections. Are you working just to say you have a summer job that gives you experience, or are you sharing and working towards goals that inspire your customers to help you achieve them? Don't just go through the motions and just like say the words of the demo. Like, absolutely spit fire with confidence, conviction, and belief. Think about the section on your goals. Are you impressive with the way you share your goals? Are your goals impressive to begin with? Are you impressive with the way you do your demo? Do you start every appointment with a level of energy, confidence, and enthusiasm, or do you match your customers? If you and your demo are not impressive, why would they refer you to their most prominent and impressive connections? They're not going to. So how do you network into the best network? Number one is share real, authentic goals that give your customers insights as to why you're working here and why achievement in our business will help you as you move into your future career endeavors. What this is goals that you're truly connected to and that are connected to what you're doing here, and that are going to be easier to achieve by what you accomplish during your Cutco journey. And sometimes part of the reason you don't get as many recommendations as you might want is because customers just think you want to sell their friends kitchen knives. They don't really understand what you're working towards. They don't really know why you're doing it. So if people like you and they know what you're working towards, they're going to give you more recommendations. It's not just selling knives, it's the skill set, it's the habits that you're developing from being here. For example, the All-American Scholarship. The scholarship is very competitive and hard to win. Tens of thousands of students compete for it every year, and the way it works is the top 50 in the summer win the All-American Scholarship. So I figured I deserved to work super hard and give myself a shot at earning that. That sounds way different than, yeah, I'm working here because I want to earn a scholarship. So My next thing that I want everybody to have here is planting seeds. I'm going to throw this in the chat and you can disperse it as needed. So a line I use in the beginning of I always use the beginning of demos. My number one goal, Mrs. Jones, is for you to be confident and comfortable enough with me that you want to introduce me to all your friends, just like Jacob introduced me to you. My number one goal is for you to be confident and comfortable enough with me that you want to introduce me to all of your friends, just like Jacob introduced me to you. Be honest with your customers about the impact that they can make towards your goals. There was a customer when I first moved to New York named Sonia Castro. Sonia was my friend's mom. She was the only connection I had on Long Island when I moved to New York. She's a lawyer. Her husband manages a construction company. All she bought was a can opener at first, but she recommended me to 10 people. I met with 7 of those 10 people, and those 7 people bought over $4,000 worth of Cutco. But the real kicker was that they recommended me to over 130 more people. One of those people was Cynthia Peralta. She recommended me to 4 people, 2 of which are in my top 10 customers ever. One of those customers is Tan Hassan. And Taz Hassan was an executive at JP Morgan who recommended me to 30 more people and 15 more since. So Sonia unknowingly set me up on my entire network in Long Island and New York City with those 10 recommendations. Stories like this really illustrate for your customer how much Rex can help you before you ever ask. So now you might be sitting there thinking like, okay, great, Everett, that's good for you. But the reality is I don't have a story like that yet. That's okay. Steal that story from someone else in your office. Use somebody on your team. Use one of the customers that you've gotten that you haven't had all that success with their leads yet, and plant lots and lots of seeds about who you're already seeing and who you already know that fits the criteria of the kind of people you want to be meeting with. So, for example, if you want to be doing demos in a certain town, can you name drop people that go to that send their kids to certain schools? Can you name drop people that are involved on the town level? If they already know that you see people like that, they're more likely to recommend you to more people like that. Number 3, know exactly what networks you want to be in. Know exactly what networks you want to be in. Pick areas with high concentrations of wealth. This is easy. Go on Zillow, look for homes that cost over 500K, over 550, over 600. Research things that are correlated with expendable income. Where are their country clubs, golf courses, things that people spend a lot of extra money on. A network does not need to be a town. A network can be a group of people who participate or belong to an organization that costs a lot of money to join. So a couple of things that I would Google for research purposes is Google the richest towns in your county. Google the private schools in your county. This can be any level. Once you know the school, you can Google the school name, the word tuition, and find out how much they spend to send their children to those schools. Country clubs, beach, lake, or yacht clubs. Take into account not only the cost, but also the size of a group or a school. And then think about your dream leads. Has anybody ever thought about your dream leads? The people that you would love to do a demo for just to say you met them. One of those dream leads for me was when I found out that Steve Madden lived on Long Island. And when I realized Steve Madden lived on Long Island, I was like, I'm going to do a demo for Steve Madden. So I asked people over and over and over and over and over. And then finally, this guy named Ron, he bought nothing and he gave me 3 recommendations. But one of those recommendations was Steve Madden. And I did a demo for Steve Madden. He bought about $1,700 worth of Cutco. He was a really cool, down to earth guy. But the point is, you can get yourself in front of whoever you want to if you actually put it out there and ask people for it. And this also goes for people that work in the fields that you want to work in. So let's say you want to work in marine biology, biochemical engineering, whatever your future endeavors might be, start asking for people that work in those fields and constantly get lots of recommendations that are going to be deeply connected in your future fields to give yourself some future opportunities. All right. I still have about 5 more points, but I told Jacob I could do this in 15 minutes. So I'm going to do one more bonus point and then we'll wrap up. And the last thing is that adjust to your audience. Understand that you have to be good at the job for people to want to recommend you. People respect you for being good at your craft and taking yourself seriously. They're going to want to buy more and recommend you to more people the better you actually are. So you have to earn the Rex in your best network. All right, that's my time. I will wrap up there.
Give it up for Everett.